So our next speaker is Hyland, the UK's first anti-slavery commissioner. And Kevin has kind of offered to speak to us about the role of the commissioner, but also about the Modern Slavery Act itself. So this is a key piece of litigation, as everyone knows, with a huge amount of potentially global impact. Over to you.
Thank you, Phil. Firstly, thank you for the invite tonight and to be speaking here with such an esteemed panel. When I talk about modern slavery, I think what we need to remember is it's an issue that involves people, and what we've got the opportunity to do from groups like this and from people in your roles is to change the lives of workers worldwide who are in exploitation and suffering, and that often goes undetected. And I think the case that Shanta identified clearly shows that it isn't always in far-flung places in the world. It can be here on our doorstep, here in the United Kingdom. So it's important to continually engage and explore different ways of collectively tackling modern slavery, and through different ways and different strategies. And of course, strategic litigation is undoubtedly a valuable tool that can help increase the risks to those involved in human trafficking, and thereby reduce their ability to profit on the lives of vulnerable people, because that's what it's all about. And human trafficking needs to become a high risk with low profit or no profit enterprise if the perpetrators of modern slavery are to be defeated. For this to happen, it's also vital that business moves away from profit being the #1 indicator of how we judge success. How we treat fellow man must be a deciding indicator and a factor on how we judge success. We must look at success through a lens of long-term sustainable growth, and ethical treatment of workers is central to this. And of course, I don't think there's anybody who would think that any profit margin is worth the cost of destroying or even taking a human life. So business cannot carry on as normal. Huge cultural and concrete change is needed. Some seeds of change have already been sown. As Phil has mentioned, the Modern Slavery Act has served as a call to businesses with its transparency supply chain section. But to guide my role, and as my statutory duty, I have to report to Parliament, and I created a strategic plan which was launched in Anti-Slavery Week last year, and I report to Parliament annually, but my plan is for a 2-year period. So I created 5 areas on that plan. The first being victim care and identification, because as we heard from the panel, it is actually the victims who suffer. And once we get processes right to support those victims, and they feel that they are the centre of what is happening, they will feel confident to come forward and give their accounts of what is happening to them. Unfortunately, that isn't happening across the globe, and certainly isn't happening all the time here in the UK. But some of the things I have already addressed, for example, when victims end their period of support in the national referral mechanism, sometimes they're not entitled to benefits that other people would be. Domestic workers, for example, their visas are tied to an individual, and I've asked, and the government has accepted, that that be changed. And I've also said that the child advocates that are allocated to young victims must be stringently monitored and must be effective. So they're very important things to support victims, but also the support that they get around litigation, the support they get to provide them with the means of taking litigation against those who have held them in domestic servitude, in forced labour, or in exploitation is important. My second priority is to drive law enforcement. And as we've heard from the case in Kent, actually the victims feel wronged by the fact there has not been justice. And that is wrong, that there has been no justice. So it is important that police and law enforcement across the UK and internationally are fit for purpose. I recently conducted a review of police forces, and of the 3,266 reported cases to the National Referral Mechanism managed by the National Crime Agency, only 842 appeared on crime reports. 986 of the cases referred to the NRM were children and minors. So therefore, there is at least 140 cases involving minors that haven't been properly recorded or investigated. They are the challenges I face. Since I took up my role, I'm pleased to say there has been a 70% increase in reporting, but actually it's still insufficient and something I want to see by next year to be 100% accurate. My third priority is partnership working, because it's important that partnerships are effective and efficient. We know that criminals work in extreme partnership. I've seen cases only last week where the criminals operate in Nigeria. They have contacts in Nigeria. They have contacts in Libya. They have contacts in Italy. They have contacts in France. They have contacts in the UK. They are well coordinated, albeit they may not know each other. They have got their supply chain. And we, as the communities that are fighting this, need to work in partnership, where there is trust and sharing of information so that we break that chain. And that can be a number of tools, including strategic litigation. My fourth priority, particularly relevant to you in the room, is about private sector engagement and collaboration. So I'm working to make sure that companies do robust supply chain transparency statements, because it is essential that they are effective and say what they are, transparent, and they're about the supply chain. But it is also possible that they will find exploitation. So therefore, the fact that it isn't punitive at the moment is a good thing, because we want companies to find it. We don't want them to run away from it, and when they find it, to put it right. And my fifth priority is about international working. So as the Commissioner, one of the things I noticed was on the Sustainable Development Goals, there wasn't a target for modern slavery. So I pushed very hard with the international community and with groups like the Pontifical Academy and Pope Francis himself to make sure that 8.7 formed part of the Sustainable Development Goals, and we now have an international target of eradicating modern slavery. And of course the SDGs don't just apply to developing countries, they apply globally to the 193 UN member states and business alike. So it seems like a big task to eradicate modern slavery, but I think we've got a golden opportunity now by everybody coming together, using initiatives like the Sustainable Development Goals, by business, the state and the non-government organisations collaborating to make sure that we eradicate modern slavery. This one opportunity that we've got now may never come again. And if we miss this opportunity that is here, facing us all, facing the people in this very room, then it may be that many millions of people around the world, and many years on, continue to suffer. But we have now got the chance to change that position if we all work together and make sure that people who are in this position of modern day slavery can feel that they've got freedom and justice, just like Shanta wants to get for those people in Kent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. That was fantastic, and I think the way you've described the opportunity that we now have and the importance of the Modern Slavery Act as one more substantial weapon that we can bring to the table in terms of trying to eradicate slavery is an inspiring thought indeed.